of you still remember when the time we had white slides and not this vibrant branding. That was the time before we had the Knowledge Management South Africa, and it was that time of coalescence, that liminal time that we see how do we want to get together. And I was speaking to Refilwe and say, I would really like to revisit our sense making from that and the patterns we had during those stages and see where this community is now and also the direction where it wants to go. Now, I often like to work in that liminal, that complex space. So the other story also to show the value of this community is, I don't know whom of you've been, it was one of the online ones in 2022. We did the knowledge management stories of while we were transitioning out of COVID in August. And then from that, Prof. Marty saw that and say, I can hear the voice from industry. I hear the voice as an academic, what is happening and what is the professional, the knowledge management professional out there. And from there, we've started to collaborate on a project. Now, the broad program is to bring in the multiplicity of voices that needs to speak into the curriculum. That is the academics, it is the students, it is industry. And what we are reporting on today is the voice of the student as an active agent in that process. Now, when I work, my one thing is from Dave Snowden is how do we make sense of our world so that we can act in it? And then the other one that really makes me think, and I always keep it in the back of my mind, J.C. Spender wrote an article, I think it's in the 1990s, and it may be even pre the Nunaka that brought together everything. I don't know how to pronounce this properly. It's a cantankerous knowledge management. That's an article. And in there, he says, shouldn't knowledge management, or his proposition is that knowledge management is about managing the knowledge absences. And that always makes me think. And I think this is also why I am very excited about the study as well, because we are bringing in sense-making and knowledge in a way that was not available before. Okay, if you can please put up for me the... I will try not to walk. It's very difficult for me. Okay, so we work here with the approach of the whole class co-creation of the curriculum. And in that, it is to acknowledge the students as partner with a high level of agency. And as you will see with this model from Martins that's adopted, often we see the student as a user. We give them the curriculum, they're the user, consumer. The tester, we get feedback. And academics like to bring in new things and experiment in a good way. But how can they become a more active informant? And actually, we want them to be a co-creator and a design partner. So we are working and say, how can we give students agency as an informant and as a design partner in this process? So as a design partner and a co-creator, informant in the curriculum, not just to give input before the curriculum, but during that process. And curriculum is actually interesting if you think about it. It is happening up to where the lecturer stands in front of the class, where the students are doing assignments. It's not only a document or a doctrine that we work with. And then in this process as well, another related one is how do we get students to reflect on their studies in preparation, because now they need to start to apply for jobs and they need to become ready for the workplace out there. So the framing that we've done is to say what lies on the horizon for information professionals. And here we work with the notion of episodic foresight. We take them mental time travel. We say, think about what is on the horizon. And I will show you also the questions that we do ask of them. Because in that mental time travel, they build constructions for their current actions to take advantage of opportunities and to manage the risks around them. So it is done in a way of 2 assignments during their 3rd year. The first one is about naming future career prospects. The second one is about journaling and narrative with SenseMaker. So I'm just going to take you then through those 2 assignments. In terms of future career prospects, Marty, I think it is in their the first semester, they are doing a module where they get exposure to what is the workplace out there, what does the world out there look like, what are the skills you need. And they're taken through a program, many guest lectures, many people come to speak to them and work with them on that. But one of the assignments that Prof. Marty gave them was to use the skills framework for the information age, the SOPHIA, and they had to select what are the job titles they aspire or think or recognize or identify with and will apply for. And they could, if I'm correct, they could have selected as many as they would like to. Now, the SOPHIA framework is a global framework. It is updated on a very regular basis, and it's quite a broad framework for all the information professionals out there. Part of the challenge, but it's an interesting challenge also with the information science department, is that they had what they call it's a multi-professional identity. So it's not like architecture, everybody's going to become an architect. You can become so many things, and that is really an exciting challenge in itself as well, but to understand that. So this gives us a way to bring in the organizational perspective, a common language, like Kendra has also said that standards give us, the student perspective, and then also the educator perspective, again, using a common reference and framework in that. Right, I know this is very small. The slide can be available and it will be published as well. So if we say naming your future career prospects, the categories was then done. The yellow one, the big one, is development and implementation. So of the student cohort of around 200, sorry, I can't stand still. Okay, the student cohort of around 257 was in development and implementation. People and skills, 10. Strategy and architecture, oh, that's the wrong one, was 155. We spoke yesterday about many of these categories as well in the panel discussion. If we look at the list, here we've included, if it was mentioned at least 7 times. What is the total number? It's quite a large number that is available in that standard. And you'll see the one at the bottom is information management, 50. Data management, second, just a little bit more than 40. Information security, business intelligence, knowledge management, the top 5 that they have selected. But in there, we can also start to see clusters of job families that we can now also start to see data analytics, 140 are all the green arrows, data modeling and design, data analytics, data engineering, database administration, business intelligence, data management. Yesterday there was also reference to the relevance and to take cognizance and to have the conversation with data as well. Then there's another cluster. It is the network design, Programming, software development, infrastructure design, the pink-purple one, those are the systems. But as we can see, those 5 are top, and knowledge management is 5th on the top ones. Okay. So the second assignment, and they are again busy with that, is journaling with SenseMaker. So we want to take students and say, imagine your future as an information professional. We want to stimulate as well that episodic foresight, prospective thinking, not reflective, but thinking into the future. And we use SenseMaker, and I will show you some of the results now as well. It is a way to do ethnography as well with them, but they are also doing this as an assignment that also gives them exposure to this sense-making, a distributed way, working with narrative and working with a mixed method that also brings in qualitative and quantitative. So we are going to speak about the prompts to share micro-narratives of anecdotes that are qualitative. Self-signification, they say, what does it mean? So we give them a signification framework, and the student then interpret or analyze their experience into that. So your indexing of the qualitative is done in the same flow by the person who is sharing that, adding layers of meaning. The word therefore also is epistemic justice, or we are mitigating hermeneutical injustice. So they make the social meaning from that. And why I bring in this terminology is when we speak about AI, we need to take more cognizance of these aspects as well in our thinking and in our knowledge systems. Yeah. Prompts. I'm not going to read all of that, but we gave them 4 prompts. A bit of a captive audience to do research with. So in their practicals, they have to go through this experience themselves as well. The first one is think about what lies on the horizon, what comes to mind, what will be the biggest opportunity on facing us in the future that we as information science, knowledge management, and IT professionals need to consider. They need to write from an experience or an observation. Then they start to add the layers of thinking. Please write a news headline for the story. 2 other prompts that we also give them. Imagine you're invited to a prestigious forum. We want to make it aspirational, where you will be the voice of your generation and those who follow. What are the key changes and initiatives that you will evangelize or propose, put on the table? And then what is the one actionable step you feel inspired to take? So we've got a very rich narrative database of 150 entries. We are repeating it this year. Now we've got 200 entries, and we can start to see if there were shifts as well. Now I've spoke about that they will then index that. So there's one question. This experience that you've shared, this observation, your future, prospective thinking, your story, is it about technology advancements, society and communities, or government, politics, and the economy? So we can see a very, very strong technology focus in their aboutness, what this is about. With a little bit linked to society and communities, but we can then also filter, and those who have been very positive, 88% technology advancements. And for those with a negative feeling about the entry, you can see that they are more towards society and communities, government, and politics, where overall 3%, they are 10% in there. Now, this is not to say what is right or wrong. We are not trying to measure and dipstick here. We want to understand and say, maybe we need to work with this almost conversation between techno-utopianism, it's all about technology, and a bit of skepticism or hesitance. And what is the narrative and the dialogue between those? Overall, when we ask them, how does this entry make you feel? Neutral was the highest. So there's a neutral stance in this cohort, which is not necessarily wrong or correct. So one of the recommendations that we also make is to say, can we help them to maybe take more an active position on what lies on the horizon so that in the organization they are more prepared to put forward a proposal or to put forward a proposition. We've heard a lot about strategic thinking and influencing and framing that for people as well. I'm not going to read through the stories, but here you can then see, we can go and have a look at the stories behind those patterns as well and say, what does it mean? And if we look at the very positive stories, it is about what AI can do. If we look at the very negative, it doesn't really read negative. That's why it's important, the self-signification, because they said that they felt negative about that. And then it is about doing, what can we do? And I feel that there's more education necessary, and I see that is what we need to do into the future. Educate people, help them to see what AI is about, what new technology is about. Okay, I'm going to skip that one. This one was also interesting, just very deep. We also asked them to say, what influenced your thinking? Family and friends, my studies, media and social media, and the web. Where do they get that from? You can see it's mainly studies, media and social media. Very positive, or positive feeling, 46% slanting towards my studies. I'm questioning that. I want to challenge the lecturers on that. But if they feel negative, then it's between my studies and the media and social media. So one of our recommendations in as well is how to maybe to do more with bringing in what they read, what they see. Not shown here, but the negative ones, you can see, oh, it is there, the family and friends. Makes them feel more negative as well. How do we facilitate these conversations and bring that into the classroom and the lecture as well? This one, very briefly, this is from this year. I just want to show you what we also then bring in. We ask them what will matter next year. I'll be expected to demonstrate competence, to be enterprising and innovate, to bring the ethical considerations of our profession to the fore. And you can see there's maybe a hesitance to be enterprising and innovative. From the panel discussion, I think that is also, we say, as part of that, how do we bring in your voices out there as well? Interpret this with us. Work with the lecturers, work with the students to prepare them. Okay. These were the disposition and the sensibilities. Now we can see here, they see it as a thriller, action-packed. They are quite balanced overall in the class. Act carefully, to act quickly, maybe more carefully, maybe hesitance, or a sensibility that we should not just jump in there. Easier than it seems, incredibly hard to action. So there we are also analyzing to see, are there blockages? Are there potential where they feel they are not prepared for the future? But overall, it is quite balanced in terms of that. I've spoken from this about the neutral stance. So to work with the students to take the side on this. And then the other one is descriptive self-awareness. Yesterday, somebody said we need to be more prescriptive. We need for people to see it themselves. And with this, we can use these contrasting patterns, contrasting narratives with the students and have those conversations. Why do you feel negative? Why do you feel positive? Why do you see technology advancement? Why do you see society or government in there? Right. And just some of the others that broad perspective. It's an ongoing and in situ curriculation with the students as informant and co-creation while working on a longitudinal study. We really want to work on to how do we include the professional industry partners in this multiplicity of voices that speaks into the curriculum. And one that is emerging is that such an approach can also be used for comparison or benchmarking or perspective in different curriculums at different universities.
Thank you, Elmi. Yeah, so these are the students that you will be employing soon to become your future employees. So we'd like to hear your stories.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Elmi, for such a nice and edifying presentation. But I just want to ask, man, are you guys a consultant that is responsible for absorptions and exit pathways?
Absorptions, so I'm not...
absorption, in other words, absorbing students from the academic institution
No.
and exiting them.
No. I'm working with Marty at the university, the lecturers who's preparing the students for the workplace. Because they are working very actively and say, how do we make sure that students are ready and relevant for the workplace out there?
Is it now over and above the formal curriculum that they are getting in the university?
No.
Or
this is part of their curriculum because they are doing their practicals on this as well. So that becomes part of the curriculum for them to have this prospective thinking.
Okay.
But it also gives the lecturers a way to read and to listen, to say, if everybody is talking about this and our intent was not that it should only be about technology advancements, we know that something needs to shift. And we use this to see where do we shift, what do we do differently, what do we bring in.
Oh, okay.
So it's also what we call the micro curriculum. So it is the macro curriculum is what you will see. These are the learning outcomes, these are the topics, these are what you need to do. But it's also about the micro curriculum or the implicit curriculum, how lecturers engage, the class conversations they have, the assignments that they give to them, the type of case studies this can inform as well. That is why we speak about curriculation. It's a verb that is ongoing, yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elmi, for the nice presentation. Well, my question, I may have missed this one. At what level do students become the co-creators of curriculum? And how do you link that to the market or the industry? Thank you.
Marty, you maybe. At this point, we are working with the third year or the final year students. But you can do it at any stage as well, because different levels. But I think that the focus for now is on the third year students, because they will be joining the workforce in the next year, and they've already had 2 years of training or education then as well. To make it relevant from the market is, as I say, we need to bring in the voices from industry and professionals as well. And then we can also contrast that and compare. But and that's one way, but we also need to bring in industry to make sense of this data and say, if you read these patterns and if you read these narratives, what is the meaning of that from a workplace perspective? So there's 2 that we need to do. And then the third one is with academia as well. We did pilot the academia one, but we haven't yet operationalized it and scaled it.
Mulara is getting me thinking. Actually, Elmi, I want to say something, but I think my English is pretty much disturbed this morning. I'll try to put
We
it.
will find it with my English
Find
as
a way
well,
of understanding
in the
my
liminal.
inputs. So your presentation is getting me thinking something, and with what Makwena is also saying. Maybe, I don't know which body, whether it's Vuyo and Sebe, via their department or KMSA. It is with this unemployment, rising youth unemployment, and we know the struggle that we have in the field of knowledge management, information science, and all of that combined. It is high time that we begin to think, how then do we contribute in terms of the alleviation of this appointment? Because we are already inside, isn't it? So we understand how the economic dynamics are going. And now, I'm just thinking to myself, that's why I'm saying I'll try to find a way that it can be understood what I want to say. Maybe we need to get ourselves as a professional in the industry to partner with these youth alleviation programs like the Harambes, like the presidential economic stimulus, to say, as they are looking at the alleviation of unemployment, youth unemployment in South Africa, how do we tap and leverage into that space? How do we contribute? That is why I was saying I'm running out of English, because I'm not an academic. But I think it's just something that I would like to share, to say, how do we launch our youth from the information management space to can be able to be absorbed, just giving them the pathways so that they can be able to contribute in the decent economy of this country. I don't know where can we start, but the only thing I am aware of is probably we need to start having conversations with these youth alleviation programs like Harambee, as I'm saying. There's a lot of them. There's also public employment programs within South Africa that probably we can just investigate and see how do we contribute as the information and knowledge management space. Whether they absorb them as intense, because my heart gets so sore. These children, they study, as you are saying, but then the point is, having seated with the certificates, where do they go? Where do they study? The industry is so streamlined. It's not like it's congested, but we know that both private sector and public service, they are not creating, exit pathways for the youth of South Africa. That's the contribution I wanted to make. It's a pity that we don't have, commissions where we can discuss it, but I'm just bringing it openly into this plenary room. And really, as I say, I don't know whether it will be KMSA who will look at it or Vuyo and Sebe through DPSA. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to raise.
I think most certainly that is a need. And somebody just need to start with to convene people and say, let's get together and see where. I always say, start to talk to people and see, where does this want to go and does it want to go? You don't need to have more than that to start the conversation. And as you start, you will also start to swarm, attract the right people, like they've done with the professionalization. So, wonderful.
Hi, Elmi. Morning, everyone. I can relate to a lot what you say. From my past experience, I came from an internship, and the development for me there was that I was absorbed into the company that I am in now, because I didn't just get to study. I also I was placed in an environment where I learned the necessary skills. So initially that then assisted me in my knowledge journey. The same with the university now. It's not just that you're doing the course and you're learning the lectures, but the nice thing is that you get exposure to the professors and the professionals out there that can share their real their knowledge that they learn, and then they can share that with you so that you are able to know what it is you're pursuing, and you can apply the knowledge to
Yeah,
Thank you.
there is one of the themes that came out is that students in certain patterns say mentoring. They want to establish mentoring for them, and they also appreciate the mentoring they had. Yeah, very true.
Thank you very much, Elmi.